Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Coach Bronson, and today I'm interviewing Dr. Donald Vega, who is, you've spent the last 20 years doing this, so over 20 years, right?
Right.
Helping people with
That's
health
right.
and fitness and all sorts of things. So we're going to talk about keto. We're going to talk about fitness. We're going to talk about mindset and how important it is to get your mind right. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Click on the little bell to make sure that you're notified every time I come out with a new video. But most importantly, I know for a fact we're going to talk about some really good stuff in this conversation. So share the information. The more people we can get this information to, the more people we can educate and share the knowledge of how to improve their quality of life, the better off we're all going to be. All right.
That's right.
So thank you, Dr. Vega, for being on today. I really appreciate it. We met in Salt Lake just like a month ago, right?
Yeah, right. And thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really excited about this. And yeah, we met there. We went for some salt mine tour. That was our first experience. My son he lighted the cannon.
Okay.
So yeah, he had the cannonball flying and.
Oh, that was your son that did that.
Yeah,
okay. The bowling ball cannon. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was great. And your talk was very enlightening because most people talk about exercise and nutrition, but not very many people go deep into exercise and what exercise is, what it does for your body. So yeah, it was a great talk.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And your talk was really good. You went into really detailed conversation about all the different ways that we get in our own way.
That's right.
And that was really, I think that, when I was watching it, I was like, wow, there's so much information here. Like, I'm in the industry and I work with people all the time. And I was like, man, there's so much information. How is anybody going to get this? But consistently, and this is the cool thing about what I love about conferences and different speakers is everybody hits things different ways. And I've talked to so many people who have all said that something that you said hit them smack in the face. Right. It's like, yep, that's me. I do that. Yep. That's me. I do that. I know that guy. He does that, and everybody's like, oh my God, there's something here for everybody because you have so many clients that you've worked with, right? I was looking at your bio here and it says you worked with 11,000 patients over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, it has been
got a little bit of experience.
And 13,500. We hit that mark a month ago.
Wow, that's crazy. So when it comes to seeing it all, you've probably just about seen it all.
Yeah. As I opened my talk in Salt Lake, what I said is, even though this is a keto conference, keto diet is the least thing I will talk about because, the protocol is very simple. You just go under 20 grams. Many people use different ranges, but we advise on less than 20 grams and everybody's going to make it. It's that simple. But at the end, what happens, why many people fail, it doesn't have to do with the mechanics of the intervention because, the guidelines do this, and this, and you will be fine.
Yep.
But the mind gets in the way, and that was my talk. And I believe with the experience that we have had, and I was short on time to really go deep into many of the experiences that we have had with patients and show many of the true reasons why they fail. Because I only had 45 minutes. We had 45 minutes, but my talk started late. So when I watched the clock in front of me, it started at 39 minutes. So I was short. And I had so many things I wanted to talk about. But I believe I said like 8 or 9 different scenarios where people make or they do auto-sabotage their process. And at the end is mostly psychological, not mechanical.
Right.
The success. And we can go deep into that if you want.
Yeah. So let's talk about what that is. So in your talk, you talked about, I think the key word would be, or key phrase would be self-sabotage.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of things that we say to ourselves. Can you run through some of those scenarios and examples so kind of people can get an idea of what self-sabotage is and how to avoid it, I guess.
Right. Maybe we can go first into a little context.
Yeah.
I used to, before the pandemic, I used to teach classes. People, when they go through our system, they first have to educate themselves into the 10 keys of health, what we call 10 keys of health. So even though we're nutritionists and an RD and a nutritionist is the same in Costa Rica, we don't have RDs and nutritionists. The nutritionist is like an RD. Gotcha. So we specialize in nutrition, but we believe that a lifestyle change is key, not just diet or exercise for that matter. And we take people through a 10 keys of health methodology, which is sunlight, sleep, electromagnetism, thoughts, which is very important, hydration, breathing, stress management, exercise, thermotherapy, and the last one is nutrition. And before they start their follow-up or their first session with the nutritionist, they had to go through 2 different classes, 2-hour classes that we used to teach 3 times a week. It was a 40 people class. And so what we started to see was, even though taking this as a lifestyle change is very, very, very powerful and gives us higher rates of success, when we go into the mind and we went into the mind, we started to discover a lot of things that people told us. For example, the one that I remember most was before Kilosophy started. That was when I was working one-on-one. I gave education and then follow-up. It changed in 2017 when I just got into the education part and hired some nutritionists to go and do the follow-up.
Gotcha.
There was this lady, she was a doctor, and she was sent to me by a trainer, very good trainer. And he said, well, you need to help this woman. And then we started to talk, and she told me that, this was her 16th time with a nutritionist. And, before that, nothing seems to work long-term. And of course, when you see that dynamic, it's not the nutritionist, it's not the system, because it can be, it's impossible that 15 different systems or 15 different persons could fail helping somebody,
right,
or someone. And then immediately I started to talk to her. Listen, this is not the system, this is not the nutritionist, it's something in yourself. If you see, you are the common denominator in all the processes. You are always there. Yeah. The other areas are different, but you are always there. So we start to go deep into some questions to reach her subconscious mind and see some information. And we found out that she was sexually abused when she was 9 years old. And this was very powerful, her remembering this, because after she found that out and she started to talk about it, her narrative was like this. Now I know and I can see that every time I'm losing weight and getting better and getting, basically the regular standards, you go lose some weight, you are more attractive.
Right.
For her subconscious mind, it was a warning alarm, that a warning alarm telling her, be careful, don't go there. And I'll explain a little later why this is so important. But in her case, she would interpret to herself, when not consciously, but subconsciously, and that's the powerful part. She was interpreting to herself, the better I look, the more weight I lose, and the more attractive I get, the worse it is for me, because the possibility of sexual abuse can go up, right, by me getting more attractive.
Yeah.
And if you don't know this about your subconscious mind, how your subconscious mind drives 98, 97, there are different perspectives on this, 90% of your decisions, then you have lost your power. And every time she would go into a diet and lose weight, these alarms would go off and just detour her.
Yeah.
So this is basically how it goes. There are two different motivations for change that we all have. One is to gain pleasure, and the second one is to avoid pain.
Yep.
If you discover one of those, the change can be very powerful. But if you discover both of them, I'll give you an example. I'm 47 years old. I decided when I was 40, when I had my son, he's 7 years old, almost 7 years old now, that I was going to be in better shape every new year. So after 40, my 41st birthday, I made the decision I'm going to be better than when I was 40. On my 42nd, I'm going to be better than when I was 41.
Yep.
And so I have kept that going. And last year, 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to go to 100 kilograms with 5.5% of body fat.
Woo!
Why would I want that?
Yeah.
Well, there are two different motivations. One, I want to look better. I want to feel stronger. I want to feel more energetic, because I want to be an example for my son.
Yep.
Of how, when you get older, you can get better. Because the standard right now is after your 40th birthday, you start losing muscle mass, you start going down, your quality of life goes down. And many people, they matriculate with that, and it becomes their reality. But I wanted to show him something different. So he has an epigenetic force going into his genes when he turns 40 and on. So that in this case, being 47 in my best shape ever is, getting pleasure. And when you focus on that, then you start doing things in different ways than what you would usually be doing. The second force is getting away from pain. And I used to do not motocross, but with motocross bike.
Okay.
It's called enduro, where you're going on trials.
Yeah.
And I remember I hit the accelerator, the back tire hit a rock, so the bike went up on me and I fell on my back, and it hit me on the rock with the weight of the bike in front of me. So I had a kind of an injury. It was painful, but getting away from pain in this case is, and it can be emotional pain, it can be physical pain. I needed to do something that would ensure that I would get to the next year, my 42nd, my 41st, my 44th, and so on, with less pain every year. And I have been doing this. I have been achieving that because I decided to. So getting away from pain and achieving pleasure are the two main motivators. And when you can identify both, you have a very powerful intervention for yourself or for somebody that you are helping in their own process.
Gotcha.
So
real quick, let me interrupt you. How do you have that conversation with somebody? Because one of the things that I talk about, and I talk about this in my book, and I've talked about this with clients and groups all the time, is the level of honesty that you have to have with yourself. That a lot of people are afraid, or it's too painful to face the things in their past or their root motivations. How do you help somebody dig deep into those things and understand what's happening? Because I love what you said, right? If you've had 18 different coaches, if you've had 15 different nutrition plans and you've tried this for 15 years and nothing's changed, it's probably not what you've been doing. It's the why or the things that you're doing inside that are limiting your success. And you've got to be able to face that. And a lot of people have a hard time looking in that mirror and identifying what's really going on.
Yeah, that's where group sessions become very powerful. And we used to do that before the pandemic, because we have 40 people at the same time in a class. They would go for the first 2 hours, we would go deep into nutrition. And the second part, which was 2.5 hours, the first hour we would spend on the mind. And so the dynamic was like this. I would put some, and after pandemic, we had all this recorded, and every new patient goes into a virtual platform where they see the classes. And before they start, they have a 30-minute session with me. So for example, today at 6 p.m., I'm going to have all the new patients that entered our program during this week.
Right.
And I'm gonna coach them on what to do and what are the steps for success. Okay. And the first one is you have to watch the classes and you have to do all the written exercises.
Right.
And that's how they will find all the information that they need to get from inside of them. But when we used to do this in group sessions, I'll put people to fill the answers for 5 different questions. 2 of them were designed to go deep into their subconscious mind, but I would help them with examples of other patients that have been in a program. And as soon as I said a story like this with the lady that had been sexually abused, I could see some faces in the group going up, because sadly sexual abuse is very common, and it might be behind the self-sabotage in many cases. So as soon as somebody and you know that body language is very powerful. Almost 57 to 58% of our communication is through body language. Right. And I would be in front of the class and everybody was writing their answers, and as soon as I saw some gesture on somebody, I would ask them, what did you just find? And they would go public and say it, and that would relate to somebody else's experience, and it created like a dynamic. So the experience of this one plus the experience of this one plus the experience of this one would start some inner search, and people would find about it. We don't have that dynamic right now, but it was recorded, and I made sure that I gave as many examples, at least as the ones I gave on the Salt Lake talk. Right. So what really has to go in this process, in every people's decision to make a change, is they have to be willing at first. And when I take them right now through this introduction session, I make sure that they understand that they will find some experiences and information that will let them know many patterns that they have been repeating in the past that they might not be aware of.
Yes.
But I make sure that they do the exercises. And once they have these written exercises and they see their answers, right there, you have the answer to what has been keeping
right. You know what habits you have. Once you identify and you know what you've been doing, now you have something that you can focus on change.
Exactly. And then I just don't put them on the cliff and let them, hanging. I help them to go through that.
Right.
So a big part of our program is neuro-linguistic programming. And once they have that, the answers, I take them through some exercises where they reprogram the meaning of their own experience to something that is not bad, but is something good. Right. To give you an example, and I believe I said this example in the Salt Lake talk. There was this lady who, and I immediately saw that in her face, and I was talking about my wife. Her experience was that when she was like 18, 19 years old, she used to go to the gym. She lived with an aunt that used to say, going to the gym is for lazy people and for people that don't have anything to do during their days.
Okay.
And so she started to get programmed that going to the gym is a bad thing. So in her identity, I want to be somebody worthy. And if you go to the gym, you're not worthy because you're lazy. That's what can mess with people's minds. And luckily, it didn't happen to her, but it was a perfect example because she remembered that, and it happened very often. And when you have something that goes repeatedly into your mind, it can become part of your subconscious programming, right, in this case. But as soon as I started to tell this story, I saw the eyebrows of one of the attendees go like, and then I asked her, what just happened? And she said, I am a I am a working mom, single mom, and I have two daughters that they stay in the house. When I get back to the house, that's the only time I see them before they go to bed. And she had this idea, part of her programming. It doesn't necessarily have to be like this, but in her case was like this. And we all know that that's what doctors tell us. If you want to change your appearance, you need to do exercise and do diet, right? So in 2 or 3 different occasions that she tried diet, since diet and exercise go together, she found herself self-sabotaging, but she didn't know why. And she found it out after I told this story of my wife's experience.
Yeah.
And it came to her. She said, "Oh my God, I never thought about it, but now I know why I have been auto-sabotaging myself in the 2 prior attempts that I did. Because every time I start a diet, I know I have to go into an exercise regime. But at the same time, doing exercise is going to take time, precious time, after I finish my work in the office. And instead of going to my house, to my daughters, if I go to the gym, I'm being a big mom, because I'm not spending this extra hour that I have in the gym with them.
Yep.
It's going to be for myself, and this is not good. So as soon as she faces pain, that's something that we didn't talk about. I'm going to say it right now. We talked about your 2 motivators are achieving pleasure and avoiding pain, but we are designed in a way that our brain wants to protect us. So if anything that you are doing is subconsciously taking you towards pain instead of going away from pain, you're going to face an auto-sabotage, because the subconscious mind wants to protect you. It is a mechanism that is not there to help us, in a sense that it wants to give you what you want, but it wants to give you what you need, and that's security. So in her case, as soon as her subconscious mind started to deal with pain by doing what it's supposed to be healthy, going to the gym to do some exercise program, that her subconscious mind detects that doing exercise is bad for her because she's losing precious time with her daughters.
Right.
So immediately she drops everything, not just the exercise program, the diet program as well, because they are together, right? You don't do one or the other. You have to do both. And in that way, we discovered that in her case, and somebody else related to that. So that dynamic that I am telling you about is very powerful, because, you know, community is the way that you can, one of the ways, the most powerful way that you can sustain a change long term, because you have community. So people relating with each other's experience is very powerful. In this case, that's what happened. And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you talked about community and doing things as a group as being one of the key factors in your ability to get people to face their challenges, face their fears, they look in the mirror and identify the things that they're doing to themselves to hold themselves back. Because I talk about it a lot, and I'm kind of on a push right now to talk about it more, of getting people motivated and activated, get some action behind people sharing their stories. I think we need more people sharing stories. I think we need more people talking about how the things that they're doing in the ketogenic space, in the fitness space, and whatever it is that they're doing where they're seeing success, they've got to share their stories, because everybody's got a different background, different experience, different challenges. And we can't listen to the same people talking all the time. Right. Because no matter what my story is, no matter what your story is, I'm only going to hit a small number of all the people that are out there that I'm going to relate to, and you're only going to relate to a small number of people. So the more people we have sharing that story and creating a safe space to talk about stuff, I think it's absolutely huge. Yeah. And not only that, Bronson, there's a law, and the law says that criticism and basically criticism and negative negative talk from the people that surround you are in direct proportion to the size of your dreams. And we have to remember that it is said that we are the average of the 5 persons that are closest to us.
Yes.
So if I am surrounded by people that are like me, as soon as I want to change, immediately this is a suggestion for them that they need to change, but they will resist that.
Yeah.
Not just staying quiet, but actually attacking me because I want to change, because it is painful for them to change as well.
Right.
So what they want to do is they just want to cut the ground so I fall and stay the same as they are. Yep. And so what I want to say, or the point is that in social groups, when you understand this, you have to know before you start the game that part of the process comes with criticism. So you shouldn't feel negative about this. You can use it. Actually, you can use it for yourself as a extra motivation, because we can take the law and use it backwards. Right. Instead of criticism, an attack is going to be in direct proportion to the size of your dreams. So if I'm being attacked massively for the changes that I am doing, that has to mean by law that I am about to achieve something that is great for me.
Amazing. Yeah.
And yeah. So we can do anything about it. People are going to talk and they will criticize. What can do then? What can we do then? We can find a community of like-minded people and make them our new social group. That way we are immediately moved into like this atomic change it is called like a change in the atomic orbit in the system.
The atoms,
a quantum leap.
Yeah, the nucleus of our lives.
Yeah.
So circulating around something more powerful.
That's right. And that's key. If you don't find a community, it's going to be very hard to sustain change.
Yeah. One of the things you talked about earlier, and you kind of alluded to just now, is the self-talk and the power of self-talk, the biolinguistics. How powerful are the words that we say to what we're able to do and how we reframe things in our minds? You know, is there really that much of a difference between saying I have to go to the gym or I get to go to the gym? Is it really that big of a deal?
Absolutely. Let me give you an example. We hate the word diet. I don't care if it is the carnivore diet or the Mediterranean diet or the low carb diet or the keto diet. We teach our patients that they should change the way they talk to themselves and to people around them, that they are not doing diet, because diet has a negative meaning that we have associated to it throughout times. It is starving. You get to eat lettuce and tomato. You have to count calories. You have to count everything. You have to measure everything. You get the weight back after you finish a diet. Yep. It is not forever. You know, it's all negative. And remember what we were talking about, every time your subconscious mind detects that there's some negative association to what you are doing, even though it's going to give you pleasure, it's going to detour your progression. So the meaning that words have in our language is very, very powerful. And we need to consider that every time we attach identity to a negative word, that becomes very powerful in a negative way. For example, it has been proven that when somebody is stuttering as a child and the parents say you are a stutterer instead of you are stuttering, the results are completely different, because the word is assigning an identity to the child, that you are this, not that you are experiencing this for the moment, but it's going to change. So definitely I have to instead of I choose to is completely different.
Yeah, or even not even, and that's a really powerful one when it comes to the parents and the kid, because it's not even when they're saying it directly to the kid. It's when the kid overhears them talking to a friend or somebody else, or my kid is this, or my son is a stutterer, or like they start assigning that. That's the second time on this, just in this conversation, that you've talked about identity. And identity is one of the big things that I like to talk about, because it was part of my transformation and my awareness of my reality being one thing, and how I thought about myself being another thing, and realizing that they were not the same. And then I had a choice, right? I realized I had this picture of myself being this fit, young, athletic, in shape guy. And then when I was faced with the reality that I wasn't fit, I wasn't in shape, I wasn't the young guy anymore, I had a choice. I could either change my reality or I could either accept the reality that I had and change the identity and accept it, or I could change the identity and change the reality. Like, I don't want to be that. My new reality, I need to work towards that new reality and live within a new vision of myself.
Right.
How do you help people transition? Number one, identify the reality, the identity that they have, and then change their identity and change the picture of where they want to be.
Okay, that's very easy. In simplistic terms, it's very easy. The hard part is
to say, right? It's easy to say.
Right. And okay, we all have goals. We all have things that we want. It is said that we don't get our wishes, we get our musts. And if you are experiencing something right now that is really based on the identity that you have. So what I was saying, it's easy to understand which is your identity at this point in time. Whatever you are experiencing, that's equal to your identity. It has to do with the law of action reaction, which I have this that I love, and I just got a book that has this one. It is called The Influential Mind, and it had the same, the same thing. So this, bless you. So this action reaction is, we are experiencing exactly the same thing that you have planted in your mind, and that's an identity. So how to change an identity? Just focus on whatever you want to achieve. That's the first thing. You need to start sowing this new identity. And how do you create this new identity? Through 3 different ingredients. One is authority. The second one is intensity. And the third one is repetition. I can ask the viewers of the podcast to go and look for self-image in YouTube by Bob Proctor. It gives you a very graphic description of how to change this. And I actually use those diagrams in my talk at Salt Lake. And who is authority? You can, and we were talking about stuttering and how the parents can program somebody to be a stutterer just by assigning them the identity when they are talking to friends or the teachers or whoever they are talking to. And this is very important, because authorities are the ones that we look up to, because they know and they understand the world, and they are teaching us, so whatever they say is the right thing.
Yeah.
We don't even question it most of the time. But if what you are experiencing right now is not serving you, then you need to change your inner information. So you have to create another authority. Who's that going to be? Yourself. You have to decide first, this is from that point on to this point, this is what managed my life based on the programming that I had from people that maybe they were well-intentioned, but at the same time, they didn't know my real capabilities, and I know what they are, and I know I want to grow, and I know I want to be a better human being in every aspect, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So you just put a goal, like the peak of a mountain, and that's what you want. It doesn't really matter if you think at this time and point in time, if you're able to achieve it. You just have to place a goal, and you just have to make your identity come up to the same level of as that goal.
Yeah.
And that's with like intensity and repetition. So you were going to say something, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at, I think I found the video. So write your new self-image, Bob Proctor on YouTube.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to pop that link in the description as well as the book that you mentioned. So if anybody get on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the right name because it might show up in many different videos. A winner's image.
A winner's image.
A winner's image. It's like a 18 to 24 minute video. It's very, very interesting. He talks about authority, intensity, and repetition. So intensity, what is intensity? The only proven way that we can impact our subconscious mind, and going back to the subconscious mind,
yeah,
that's what drives your decisions, even though you might not know it. The only way that we can impact our subconscious mind and have instant changes is through emotional input. That's intensity or emotional intensity.
Right.
And you have to create that for yourself. So, for example, if you see the sun, let's say I'm 47. When I'm 48, I'm going to be doing a marathon. It's not my goal, but let's say that for an example. So I see the moment I'm going through the finish line, I close my eyes, that's intensity, and I feel exactly as I would feel if I were there.
Yes.
That moment. Let's say the New York Marathon, full of people. My wife and my son and my best friends came at the finish line to see me cross the line. And how I would feel, what would I be experiencing at that moment, having goosebumps, all that is emotional input that if you add repetition to this process, then you start to influence your subconscious mind into a new identity. And you start erasing the previous identity that was keeping you from going there.
Yeah, that's a good parallel to what I like to talk about with, defining your why. You can say why something is important to you all day long, but if there isn't an emotional attachment to that, whatever that is, then it's not really your why.
Exactly.
It's got to piss you off. It's got to make you happy. It's got to make you sad. Like there has to be something emotionally connected to it in order for it to carry you through. Yeah.
Let's take my example. I'm 47. I decided I wanted to be 100 kilograms with 5.5% body fat. Those are numbers, just numbers. It doesn't mean anything for me.
Yep.
When I start to dig deep into the emotional area in myself that would be of motivation to achieve that, I discovered this is for my son. This is for myself. I want to be a perfect example, as you are, for the community that we are leading, that this is possible, that this is feasible, and also that I am a living example of what I teach. Those emotional attachments that I assign to 100 kilograms with 5.5, those are the ones that make the real difference, not just the number. Absolutely. Actually, not the numbers.
Not the numbers at all. Yeah, it's not the numbers. It's why is that important? What's the emotional connection to that? Absolutely.
Right. I have a book here by Simon Sinek. It's called Start with Why.
Yep.
Start with why. You need to start with why. You need to know why you're doing things. Otherwise, you're going to fail.
Yeah, that's why that book is really the reason I started my book off with. That was my first chapter, right? Because of that book. That book, and there's another book called Help First, which is great if you're a coach or a trainer or a doctor, or you're trying to lead people to better health or just life in general. But Start with Why has been so impactful. Because it's the groundwork, it's the foundation for everything that we're trying to do. Like if you don't know why you're doing anything, then the first bump in the road, you're going to be like, okay, I'm done.
Absolutely. And when we see patients, because people come to a free assessment to our clinic so we can discover what's really moving them, they always come with this idea that they want to lose weight. Okay, so this is like an onion where you have to start peeling
it away.
Yeah. And at the end, they end up saying either pain or pleasure. I have This morning I just went in front of the mirror and I started crying because I hate myself. I don't like myself. I feel like a stranger in front of the mirror.
Yep.
And that detracts from my power. And I actually had this conversation with a woman. She was very overweight. It was 3 years ago, actually in one of the classes, after the class finished, because some people don't want to share because it's very painful for them. And she said, I am the best in my industry. I am she had a business where she would go and coach people in the higher areas of the company's hierarchies of the company, the higher executives. And she would train them. I can't remember in what area, but she was one of those. And she said, I'm the best in my industry, but I feel that people are judging me because of the way I look, because I am overweight.
Yep.
And that, it takes away power from my influence that I have on them. So why I want to do this? Because I want to have more self-esteem, where I can feel that I can impact them, because I am proficient in every area of my life. So you're coming here to teach me about business, but you don't have mastery over your body. Yeah. So that's what she felt.
Yep.
I don't have control over this. I need to take control over this, so I feel more confident to teach them some other areas that I am the best, where I am the best. So at the end, it has to do with emotion. And if everybody take that decision, or they make that decision based on emotion, but maybe people are trained to think on numbers. And we are actually today on a Instagram story, I was telling about a client, actually a patient. We talked on last Sunday, and she said, I feel a little disappointed because I only lost 2 kilograms of fat these last 15 days, because we see our patients every 15 days. Mm-hmm. And then I said, wait a second. What do you mean you feel disappointed because you just lost 2 kilograms of fat?
Lost 2 kilograms.
Yeah. And we have these fat models that they're like this big every kilogram. So she lost 2 of this. And I said, you should go and check out because we're not seeing her in person. We see her through virtual sessions. So she doesn't have access to the models that we have in the clinics. And I said to her, you need to go and take a look at what 1 kilogram of fat looks like, but let's go somewhere else. How do you feel? What have you found with your clothes? What do people tell you? And she said, well, my digestion just got perfect. Mm-hmm. I lost all the inflammation I had in my belly, and my clothes, and she sent me a couple of pictures of before and after, and she was a completely different person.
Yep.
And I talked to her, and today this was part of our Instagram story. Don't let a number define your process. The numbers are the least thing you should focus on. How you feel, how you sleep, what kind of energy do you have? What influence are you having on the people around you? Are they attacking you, or whatever it is? You're shaking their grounds, and you should be proud of it. And also, what sizes are the clothes that you're using? Are they, you feel them loose? And there are many ways where you can measure. And at the same time, she said, I have had influence, and actually a couple of people contacted us because they saw her progress and they want to get into the program. So that's it. Emotions, not the numbers.
It's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it. Is there anything you would like to leave with people watching as kind of take home?
For those that haven't decided yet to make a change, I think that, and they know, and maybe we can reference another book. It's called, and I believe I said about that book on the presentation at Salt Lake, I can't remember. It is called Changing for Good. So Changing for Good is this It is this group of people who wanted to help people to quit smoking. So they went into research and finding out what different systems for helping people to quit smoking were available at the time. And they found like 140. And many of those systems were given advice that was completely opposite to one to the other.
Interesting.
You know, that's confusing. So they said, why don't we find people that quit smoking by themselves and find what steps they followed?
Yep.
And if we have many of those people, and we can find a path, you know, like a system, then there we have it. That's the easiest way to quit smoking.
Yep.
Not only they found the people, they found the system, not just for quitting smoking, but to make any change that you want to go through.
That's awesome.
It is based on 6 different steps. The first one is let me say it in Spanish. Well, the first one is where you don't know you have to make a change, so you're not interested in making the change. Yep. The name will come to me. The second one is where you know you have to change, but you're not willing to make a change. So the first one, you don't know you have to change, you don't want to change. The second one, you know you have to change, you don't want to change. The third one is preparation, where you know you have to change and you start to do some research on which is the best way to change.
Yep.
The fourth one is action, where you actually start changing. You decided on one specific strategy, you start to use it. The fifth one is, excuse me, I'm blanking on the specific steps, but this one, the fifth one, is where you are still putting energy to change. It hasn't come automatic yet.
Okay. And
the sixth one is termination, where you don't have to think about it. You just changed, and it became a habit.
Right.
So, I remember now. Pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation.
I feel like I've heard these before. Yeah.
Yeah. Action, maintenance, and termination.
Okay. Yep.
So for every step, you might find yourself, if you're watching this, you're probably, and you haven't made any change, you're probably in contemplation or preparation. Mm-hmm. There are strategies that you can use. They are outlined in the book. So you can help yourself or help somebody you want to help to make the change. And we all can be better. Just try to focus on, as I said before, don't go for what you think you can achieve. Go for what you feel if you would achieve, it will make a completely different life. Yep. And don't feel limited because of your past programming. Go watch that Bob Proctor video so you can change your self-image. Use these other resources that we just talked about to go from step 1 to the second to the third until you are finally in action. Use Coach Brunson material. It's very powerful in the exercises and all the area. And I know you provide service of a program design, right? Mm-hmm. So people can look for that if they need guidance. You're probably the best one to give them that.
Yeah. Where can people find you? On Instagram, your website, or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, that we have our service still established only in Spanish. So it's Kilosophy down, what is it called?
Underscore
nutrición instead of nutrition with a T, is nutrición with a C.
Okay.
And we are there in Instagram, in Facebook, and we also have a website for people that are Spanish speaking. We have courses where we teach people how to implement these 10 keys of health and the nutrition and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. We got to talk. I have some ideas on some stuff. I know you're in Costa Rica, right? So do you do anything in the States? Because I know there's a huge Spanish speaking population in the States that could use your help. If you've ever thought about coming on up here and doing anything.
For sure we'll do.
Awesome.
We
Well,
can
thank you
talk
very
about
much.
that in Austin. 'Cause,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I'm going to Austin.
KetoCon. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing more stuff with you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Bronson.